Welcome to another edition of Tuscaloosa Talks. Today we get the honor of talking to a legend here in our community, the Honorable John England. Judge, thank you for being here today. This is your old stomping grounds, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But most of us in Tuscaloosa have known you for so long, all we think about is Tuscaloosa and John England. But your story starts even before Tuscaloosa. Tell us a little bit about John England and how Tuscaloosa became your home and how you've been a difference maker ever since.
Well, that's a question that I've answered, and I know why I'm here in Tuscaloosa.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was born in the Black Belt in Uniontown in Perry County. Now, I say that, but actually where I was born in my grandparents' home, which was about 8 miles outside of Uniontown. And, of course, my parents only spent a year or so there and moved to Birmingham, where my father worked in the steel mills.
Mm.
So I actually went to public schools in Birmingham. I tell people I went to Ullman High School. And
is that on the UAB campus?
Right. That's why I like to tell folk about that, because I say my high school became a university. So,
I went to classes getting my undergrad in the Ullman building.
Well, that's where I went to high school at.
Really?
I served for many years on the board of trustees, and they when I first got on, they took us around all the campuses, and we went to UAB, and so that was the first time I had been back on that campus since high school. Literally.
Really?
And so here I am walking through and being pointed out the classes or classrooms that I attended in high school. Life is funny.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so from there, I went to Tuskegee, when I graduated from college. Now, I decided to go to Tuskegee because, obviously, Birmingham during that time was rigidly segregated. And, basically, when I went to school, the only professionals that were black that I saw were teachers and preachers. Those were the only people who wore ties or coats. And I said, I don't want to do that. And so I was searching around for what I wanted to do. And we read about Booker T. Washington. Now, this is a true story. We read about Booker T. Washington and George Washington Carver at Tuskegee. And George Washington Carver was this chemist. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's it. I want to be a chemist. And so with that in my head, I was admitted to Tuskegee. I went there, and guess what I majored in?
What's that?
Chemistry. Now, so I'm George Washington Carver. So I majored in chemistry, but about 3 years in, I realized that I was more interested in the civil rights movement and politics. And with some convincing from some University of Alabama students who I still know, who came down to recruit, I decided to go to law school and be in the first class of African Americans to attend the University of Alabama Law School. That was in 1969.
Did you see yourself as a trailblazer at that point, or did you see yourself as, hey, I'm going to get this law degree. I'm ready to go out there and be that attorney that represents clients, that makes a difference? Or did you understand the history of the moment, I guess is what I'm trying to ask?
Well, one of the ways that I respond to that is when I was at Tuskegee was the center of the civil rights movement. Anybody who thought they were a civil rights leader came through Tuskegee's campus. Mm-hmm. And some of those individuals said, one should, we need you now. You don't need to be in school. But, I knew my mother would allow me not to finish school after sacrifices they made. So, but I did decide that I was going to practice law in Alabama and do civil rights work. So that played a good role, big part of my decision to go to Alabama. because there were law schools all over the country who were actively recruiting to get African Americans, minorities, to go to law. Okay, so I did go. The young students who came from the Alabama Law School took a recruitment. They were successful. So I came here and ready to do whatever law students do. And guess what? After I'd been here less than a month, I got my draft notice. I was drafted. And so I went to the draft board and said, well, can I please finish law school? Because at that time, you didn't get deferments. Well, the draft board said, no, but we'll let you, since you paid your money, we'll let you finish it. So I actually finished the first year of law school, 1969. And then I went into the war. I went to the Army. I got lucky. I did not go to Vietnam. In fact, I went to what we call Camp Swampy. But it's Fort Stewart in Hinesville, Georgia. And lo and behold, when they found out I had a little legal career, little law, I was made a desk sergeant. So I was a military policeman for the 2 years that I was in the military. They tried to get me to stay, but I knew I was coming back and going to law school. I came back, finished the 2 years, and, because I had in my mind that I was needed in the Black Belt, but I didn't want to live there. Mm-hmm. Tuscaloosa was as close as you could get without living there. And so I, along with 2 other Tuscaloosans, Booker Ford, who's now deceased, and Sue Thompson, we hung out our shingles and started practicing law here in Tuscaloosa in 1974. My office was there on 8th Street. And from there, I practiced law in the Black Belt. I did criminal law, personal injury law, civil rights law, came to know Charles Steele and became his lawyer for SCLC.
What was it like working in the court system at that time? You had to be one of the first practicing African Americans active in the judiciary at the time in our state. What challenges did you encounter, and what other surprises did you encounter?
Well, I guess the biggest challenge I encountered was, let's say if I got a defendant, I'm representing a defendant who's in jail. Mm-hmm. Well, I would go to jail to visit my clients. And oftentimes the sheriff or the deputy who was working there said, well, you're no lawyer. And because we didn't actually have a card that we could carry and say. And so many times I had to ask the judge for permission to go see my client. And in many instances, I remember, I came to know a judge from Lamar County named Judge Strawbridge. And he was in a number of different counties. And on more than one occasion, he would tell the sheriff, let him see his client. Or not only that, in a couple of occasions, he said, Sheriff, you bring the defendant over to the courthouse and let him see him in the office. So, that plus, here were 3 young lawyers, all right, who didn't have a whole lot of experience because we hung out our shingles. Mm-hmm. Well, lawyers like Walter Crono, these are names that folk probably would not remember now, but were there to help. People like Gordon Rosen, who was a municipal court judge. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite was, he practiced actually with Olin Zena, Bill Dollar. Mm-hmm. all these folk were willing to help young lawyers who were just stepping out. Now, of course, during that time, I handled school desegregation cases, employment discrimination cases. In fact, it is in one of those cases with Charles that I got to know Bill Lanford, who was on the council with me. I don't know if you recall, you may be too young, but back
You're too kind.
Early 80s, there were 6 members of SCLC who decided that they were going to occupy the school board, city school board, because they disagreed with a policy which resulted in a number of youngsters being retained.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time, Bill Lanford was chairman of the school board. And so Bill Lanford and the lawyer for the school board at that time, Rusty Gibson, myself representing Charles,
Mm-hmm.
we negotiated a way to end that. That city, because they actually stayed in the school board building, occupied it for 5 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yes, that actually happened, and so that's really how both Charles Steele and I, because he was SCLC president, really got to know Bill Lanford.
So that kind of segues into your time of service with the city. And for those that don't know, Judge England is sitting in Council Seat 2.
Right.
And so you were on the City Council, District 2. But let's talk about moving to a city council. Now, in 1985, the city began the mayor-council form of government. Talk about what was before 1985 and why it was important for this city government to change to reflect the diversity of this community.
Yeah, before 85, we had a commission form of government. Hilliard Fletcher, and Al DuPont, and I can't remember.
Was it Delane Mountain maybe, or
No, it wasn't Delane.
It would have been public safety though, right?
Right. Yeah,
But we basically had three
commissions.
Three commissioners: mayor, public safety, finance, and public works.
That's right. And I was trying to think of the public safety. Delane Mountain was not on it then.
I can't remember.
I cannot remember. I can't. But nevertheless, Jack Drake and I talked to some citizens of Tuscaloosa County about it was time to change the method of electing, because there were no African Americans